Alright, it's time to end the Underworld review series with Underworld 5, or Underworld Blood Wars, which came out in 2017, I want to say. Yep, and this was directed by Anna Foerster, who hasn't directed anything else, I don't think. She was a cinematographer for a couple of other movies, like White House Down, I think. And this one was not written by Len Wiseman. All the other ones, he had a help in writing the movies. He directed the first two, and he wrote or co-wrote the first four. Now he is not a part of the writing team in this one. Actually, it came out in 2016, so I was wrong, but whatever. So, plot synopsis for Blood Wars. Death dealer Selene, with her only allies David and his father Thomas, must stop the internal war between Lycans and vampires, even if it means she has to make the ultimate sacrifice. This, like all the other movies, was a first-time watch, and I went into this one with lower expectations because I had heard bad things about it, like this one's the weakest, and when you look at the ratings for it, everywhere, Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and Letterboxd, it's the lowest one. So I just lowered my expectations going into this one, and it wasn't as bad as I was expecting, but it is definitely the weakest of the Underworld franchise, in my opinion. So jumping into the couple of little things I liked about this movie, not a whole lot to talk about, really. Again, I feel repetitive at this point, but just like the other movies, except for one, there was one that wasn't shot very well. The editing was a little choppy in one of them. I forget which one. It was probably 3, whatever. This one, the action scenes, it's shot and put together pretty well. And, the third act was definitely the best part of the movie when you finally get to the damn war. I'm expecting some blood wars, and you finally get it in the third act. You get a nice war going on between the Bloods and the Lycans in the third act. It was mildly entertaining, and there is a great throat slit in this movie and a spine getting ripped out, very Predator-like. So yeah, you get a couple little moments of gore in here. That was pretty good. I like that Selene has come full circle now. She's finally respected by the Bloods by the end of this. She earns her spot at the top as an elder by the end. She's no longer going to be hunted by her own kind anymore. Since the end of part 1, that's just what's been happening in 2, 3, 4. They're just, I guess not 3 because that's a prequel. They're just constantly after her. In this one, she finally earns back their respect. So, and the CGI is the best in the series. Makes sense. It's the more recent one, and CGI has been getting better with time. And this one, it looked the best. And it probably looked the best because you can barely see what the fuck is happening in this movie. And that would bring me to my first negative. This movie is lit so dark, or maybe it's just all in post. They just turned down the brightness on the film. They made it so dark. It makes Alien vs. Predator Requiem makes that movie look like Midsommar. This movie is so goddamn dark. And this movie does something that I can't stand when a sequel does it, and that is like retcon shit from before. Like, oh, no, this happened. And it's like, fuck you. No, that's not what happened. In this movie, they say, it's one little twist they just thought of last second they threw in here. Like, oh, this guy is the son of Amelia. And it's like, no. And we saw in the prequel, and we even saw in the little flashbacks that we got in part 1, that Amelia was burned alive, pregnant, like only maybe a month pregnant. She wasn't that far into her pregnancy. She never gave birth. Like the father, Victor, was never going to allow that to happen. He was a monster, and he wanted to kill that baby and his own daughter because he just couldn't stand the idea of Lycans and Bloods getting together and that abomination being born. So, now they're, taking that back in this movie. No, she gave birth, and then Victor killed her. It's no, that's not what happened. Another thing that kind of just dropped is the whole fact that humans are now a threat to Lycans and Bloods. They're constantly being hunted in part 4 by the humans. Like, they don't even talk about that shit no more in this. Like, it's not happening anymore. I guess the humans forgot again about Lycans and Bloods. But whatever. I just wish they would have kept that element going. Like, have human antagonists in this one. But Michael, his character, like Scott Speedman, didn't come back for any movie after part 2. So what they do with his character in this one is basically they just kill him off camera. Like, oh, by the way, he's dead. It's like, oh, no. Like, he's supposed to be, like, so powerful because he's a hybrid. He's, like, the only one of his kind. And some fucking nobody Lycan killed him? How? How did he get easily defeated? Like, I would have at least liked to see how that went down. They give you a very quick, blurry, like, flashback to him dying in one moment. I'm like, how did he even get into that situation? Like, it was just very cheap. I didn't like it. And the daughter that they introduced in the last movie, she's no longer a character. Like, Selene hides her daughter and just doesn't want to be around her anymore because it would, put her life in danger. I get it, but it's like, no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted the next movie to be like her and her daughter fighting together. And lastly, I just felt no connection to these new characters like David. I guess he was in the last movie, but it's like I don't really care about him, and they're just not interesting together, David and Selene. So final thoughts, this is easily the weakest of the franchise, with almost nothing new being done here that you haven't seen done in the last 4 movies better. I feel like this one has less action in it than most of the others, and less gore. It's all CG blood, and you can barely see the movie. But it's, again, like the other sequels, fast-paced and pretty short in its runtime. I think this one's only like 82 minutes before the credits start rolling. So it's not ever really boring. I'm just not really into the new characters surrounding Selene as much. I just wish Scott Speedman would have returned. Like, him leaving the franchise seemed to really, hurt it a bit. So when it comes to Underworld Blood Wars, I'll give it 2.5 out of 5 stars. So there you have it. I'm done with the Underworld franchise. What are your thoughts on this franchise and this movie? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's all an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.